Video game graphics peaked in 2016. You want proof? Here's Halo Infinite. In 5 seconds, can you tell me which one has the higher graphic settings? Now, here's Halo Infinite on max graphics settings against Battlefield 1 from 2016 on max. Can you see much of a difference? Be honest, you really can't tell, and while we're talking about honesty, I lied. That's not even Battlefield 1 on maximum graphics. So how does it look so good? It's because I'm utilizing what I believe are the 5 main things to get quote-unquote good graphics. Optimization, lighting, textures, LOD, or level of detail, and style. In the Battlefield 1 gameplay you're seeing right now, the settings are set to low for everything that's not a part of those main 5 graphic enhancers, and those that are a part of them are set to ultra or even just medium. At the end of the video I'll break down my reasoning for the settings, but for now let's just compare Halo and Battlefield. So for starters, no matter how many polygons or lens flares you add, if it runs bad, it's going to look bad. On my computer, Halo on the lowest graphical preset in the training mode with no bots stayed around 75 FPS, which is pretty good, very playable, versus BF1, which is now an ultra, I swear, and its frame rate is unable to decide between 120 and 115. Do keep in mind it has bigger maps, but it's also an older, easier to run game. That's the point I'm making, is that Battlefield 1 from 2016 looks as good and runs better. Don't get me wrong, Halo's still beautiful, and in both games the lighting is good, the textures are crisp, no painfully obvious LOD pop-in with the models, nothing like that. One big thing that Battlefield 1 has that really helps it stand up against today's games is the style. It's one of the most cinematic FPSs I've ever played, and I have no clue how they managed to do that. So let's keep Battlefield 1 on Ultra as our base when we look at some other games.
Nice. Good job.
Pass aufpassen!
All of these games look great, but none of them really look better than one or the other. You can sit there, freeze frame, and analyze specific little things like the reflections in Mordhau, the mood in Dark Souls, and the trauma-inducing gore in Rising Storm, but they all have the same overall quality. AAA games go for as much detail as they can, and the thing is, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't help. They render all this extra grass and depth of field, and yet it often doesn't make it look any better. Yeah, it's more realistic, but it's not good. Don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. There are some jaw-dropping games that do manage to stand out in the crowd, like Demon Souls Remake. Red Dead Redemption 2. God of War 4. Last of Us 2. And Jedi Fallen Order.
Execute Order 66.
Realistic graphics and good graphics are two completely different things. Take Valheim for instance. The game is amazing looking without making you feel leather with your eyeballs. Of all the 5 graphic enhancers, it really nailed lighting, style, and textures to match said style. Compare our base of Battlefield 1 to Valheim. Battlefield is more realistic, yet they both look amazing. Artistic diversity is needed. Games like Valheim, Psychonauts 2, Hades, and Rock Flesh are some examples. They all look good, and they don't look the same as one another. They use style and good implementation of the other elements to match said unique style. Whether it be pretty lighting in Valheim or a simple, more grounded approach like in Rock Flesh, these two PlayStation 1 style games don't look the same, even at a quick glance. Unfortunately, games are looking the same and harder to run, so unless you're like a brainless graphics whore or you have like a 3090, why would you play Halo on Ultra? So here are my personal recommendations for Halo, Battlefield, and really any game that you can't run on very high, but you still want it to be pretty and functional. What I mean by pretty and functional is simple, thankfully. It just follows the 5 enhancers. Optimization, 60 plus FPS, and things like particle effects and the number of decals really add up and slow down the game, so have those at a lower setting. Lighting usually just is medium, no need to really go all out. For textures, that's where things get kind of complicated though. For just the textures, set it as high as your rig can handle with minimal muddiness. How much mud you can handle is personal, so some people will have it higher or lower. With textures, there's also like a subpart for
anisotropic filtering,
i.e. how much mud at aggressive angles. Total worthless setting to have over 4 times. Even if you can run it on 6 times, it's just not worth it. LOD. In settings, it's often called something like terrain quality or geometry quality, and like the textures, you want it as high as your rig can handle. Pop-in's ugly, it can affect your ability to play. If it's set too low, you'd be shooting things you can't see, and that's no bueno. If there are 2 different options for terrain versus players and small details, prioritize terrain so you don't find yourself shooting at the lip of the rock that you cannot see. And the last one is style, and it is the most personal part. The other suggestions are standard for most games, but style depends on the game and its immersion a lot. Games like Halo have settings for immersive stuff like the wind, the flocks of birds. These things are not important to gameplay and can be turned off, but honestly, I wouldn't suggest that unless you really cannot run the game well. Having those little immersive bits adds to how good the game looks. During the downtime, when you stop and look around, the little things not being there will bother you. So set them to low, not off. And I know it sounds a little backwards after talking about not nitpicking, but the thing is even when playing, you will stop and smell the roses. It's just not as hard as like when you're trying to find a graphical difference, so something set to low like that won't make as big of a difference. And if the style of the game is super fun neon, maybe have the lighting setting higher than usual, or if it utilizes a lot of particles for gameplay, you could increase the particle effects. I'd recommend tuning the settings to the game itself for the best effect, using the other 4 enhancements as a baseline. And hopefully just like that you should have a fun and also a 7 out of 10 looking game. So why make this video? Well, as somebody who started PC gaming on an underpowered laptop, I understand the pain of trying to find a balance between the performance and the aesthetic. Over the years, I've learned how to tread that line pretty decently, and eventually I did upgrade to my current tower with ease. I played all my games in Ultra, but my medium-spec tower was very quickly taken to Gapplebees with the release of things like Halo Infinite and Battlefield 2042. So hopefully I save you hours of tweaking graphics settings with a good starting place. Also, any excuse to gush over BF1 is fun too. They use style and good They all use style and good implementation. They all use style and good implementation of the other elements